Hi everybody. Saw some recent posts on Reddit about high-level games, so I figured I'd just share one. Be showing off this tricolor deck that I talked about in a previous video, and I'm just going to jump into the game that I had with Pero. He's playing blue, so sorry, it's more blue. But just quickly, this deck is kind of a path deck with trample effects, do a lot of damage, and you'll see it, work out here. Um, Pero is number one, will usually beat me, but you know, this deck's very competitive, and so Pero's running one of his typical like control decks, which I guess is not going to show up in the replay for me. Um, Here I'm following kind of the default deployment system that I use for this deck, which is like the mid lane, Omni Knight center, and round 2 I'm probably going to deploy Shadow Fiend here is the plan. Shadow Fiend and Omni make kind of a nice combo together. Because usually you can just kind of heal Shadow Fiend and get him his damage faster. And a theme of this deck is also just to make Shadow Fiend really large. So he wants to play Remess Blessing on himself, and healing keeps him alive. So that's how this tries to beat blue decks. Is basically have high HP heroes. So in these kind of deck that I'm running, Sorla is usually kind of a throwaway hero. I use her for ladders. Here, I kind of didn't draw the best starting hand. I got, really a couple of Jeep creeps to play, which I can only play in Sorla's lane, which is against the Ogre, which means, Path of the Wise or, Ignite, which Pero didn't draw this game, is going to come out. But I go ahead and play my Alkalite here anyway, which is getting me a free card draw, just to try to convince him to play some more cards into the right lane, because I really want the other lanes to be where the action is. So he obliges and goes double path here. At this point, I'm just going to pass because I don't want to waste my grunt. It's obviously going to die there. So, due to the placement that happened in mid, what I've decided to do is, obviously it's not going to be useful for me to put Shadowflame here as usual, so I'm just going to move him over opposite Prolix and still fight for this lane. So what you're basically going to see here is, expect Shadowfiend to beat Prolix. It's not within Lightning Bolt range. With my initial goal with this, I pretty much always buy Stonehall Cloak round 1. The reason being I really want SF to get big, and this makes sure he stays alive. So things are pretty much going according to plan right now. You can see Pero's deck is full of control cards, and so that's why it's so important to be full of HP, because that's just one of the ways that you can feed them. See, at this point, he can't really do anything to touch mid lane. He can do things on the other lanes. And happily I've drawn Presence of the Dark Lord, which makes my turn much better. So you can see here, he's whittling him down because he sees the threat here. He probably is very sad to see this this card come out, because now I can just heal away and kill both the Mega Creeps, and also take Shadow Fiend back up to safe health. And you see the Omni Shadow Fiend Bro combo here coming in handy. So I go ahead and execute this stuff. So Pero consigns Sorla to her fate, which, as mentioned, is she's a weak hero in this deck. But next turn you're going to see him play Shaker mid, and it's going to be, a fight to see if he can do anything about mid, because his deck is, a lot slower than mine. So here he softens up Shadow Fiend, which was, a great move on his point, because now Shadow Fiend's down to 2, and, realistically I know, Shaker's coming here because it's mono blue. Let's control. He's going to have a nuke. So what do? Is I place the Tidehunter there just to bounce him and keep him alive. So that's gonna, bring Shadow Fiend back up to his max health here, which is quite large with, 9 already, thanks to the cloak. So now Pero again has no good targets. He does have, Mystic Flare, can only really kill Undying or Underlord here if he uses this, which, is really a waste. The mana short, nobody is in mana short range. So yeah, he predictably opts to do the Barracks here, which is pretty much the best play that he has available, because he really doesn't want to waste his cards on nothing. So I, on the other hand, have a lot of options now with what I've drawn. I drew into my Path card, which is one of the main parts of this deck. Basically, this deck really wants to build a bunch of paths, and then in combination with Assault Ladders, you can basically do a ton of tower damage. So here we are, we're going to feed the path. So you're going to see me use, I think, all of this, including the Grunt, is going to come out in this picture.
I need to protect myself.
The reason I was holding off on this was that I was afraid that he might have the Magic Maul. But then I just decided, like, that's why I passed the first turn. I wanted to go ahead and play this Unearthed Secrets, which kind of is an important part of the deck. So, I forewent getting another 4 or 5 damage here, but it basically ensured that I can pull enough cards to build up my paths, etc. So here I don't have gold, I'm just going to take income. And so you see, Pero is whittling down the decks I'm ignoring here. And when I'm faced with this deployment choice, I'm basically going to opt to put Shadow Fiend in mid lane. The most important thing about this is that I wanted to stay out of Echo Slam range. And so he can only really Echo Slam Omni Knight. And I basically start chipping away at the first lane, encouraging him to defend that and not go crazy on this outer lane. So, given his hand, you're going to see what he opts to do is Mystic Flare down the Sorla, kind of shutting down the offense here on this lane. He's, slowly continuing his strike down here. So you're going to see me go ahead and play more Paths and Assault and Entusted Grunt in middle lane, which is like the dream combo for this deck, really. And so I'm already up to 3 Path of Bold, and by the time I finish playing these cards, it's going to be 5.
We need to look after
and thanks to Unearthed Secrets, I'm pulling my cheap cards, my Repel, to steal Initiative back and all that stuff. So the beauty part about this is that once I play this, I'm going to be able to heal my Shadow Fiend and hit the tower for that damage as well. And, based on the health of everything here, there's really no chance for him to, kill this lane this turn, so I'm safe playing all my cards. You can see Mega Creep's still feeble under ladders, so just chopping 34 damage here. I mean, really brutal. I'm sure he wishes he had drawn, Annihilation, but it was not to be. So this does almost this leaves still a couple heroes open to Echo Slam. So I go ahead and do the unusual move of putting Cloak on Tide because I don't want to get Echo Slammed. I want him to commit, Annihilation or Bust.
Feel the strength of Melron.
You see this deck runs a bunch of Hourglasses, which is usually for Tidehunter. I think in this case I really wanted a Warhorn to see if I could actually close out the mid lane. See, the Warhorn's also going to allow me possibly to keep, you know, other heroes alive, so... The Echo Slam does come out. It murders them. But that's not really the end of the offense for the deck here. So he's used most of his mana, and now I'm not too worried about anything actually happening, and I'm just trying to plan out, you know, how things can go. I know what I want to do, which is move the Underlord over here and get him hitting with Path of Bold and casting, you know, Rames and some other cheap spells to, you know, push up my pass a little more. But I can't risk him having, what do you call this, Tower Barrage? He didn't actually have it in his deck, but that's why I played the Horn here. And now I can come over to second lane. And I have a lot of choices about what to play. I could either play like multiple like Atrophy Aura and Ramask and maybe like Repel to try to push more damage here. But what I opt to do is actually play Clear the Deck here. Reason being, I'm pretty sure that he was actually going to Fissure, or at least I didn't want to leave open that possibility. And I also wanted him to force to have to deploy here. So I know that he's been holding mana because he wants to counter me, and I figure that, you know, it's going to be Annihilation or something next turn. So I just burn Repel to take initiative. And since he used his Conch Shot last turn, he can't take initiative back. So now he just opts to, you know, burn down my tower here with Lightning Strikes, which, you know, is going to let him possibly jump back to this lane and defend next turn, since, you know, obviously it's going down unless he does something about it. So I have this deployment of Sorla, and you know, I may have enough damage showing already to do it, but what I really want to do is draw my raid that I'm playing in here.
The Leviathan rewards his allies.
Because that's going to be game ending. So I'm going to deploy Sorla there, even though, you know, it'll increase my risk of losing, since he very well could, you know, fill out left lane. But, you know, that's what you gotta do. Sometimes you have to top deck it, and you'll see, I do manage to top deck the raid, so that's the end of the game. And I guess he just never drew his Annihilation, so I don't think he could actually have done something too meaningful here, although he could have surely killed one or two of my heroes. But, you know, that's it. Just a little gameplay. Thanks for watching, everybody.